My guest is Jim Davis, the Chief Deputy Director at Caltrans, the California Department of Transportation. Jim is a career Caltrans employee, a 33-year veteran with the department. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Sam. It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. And so, Jim, as a Caltrans career veteran and now the Chief Deputy Director for the largest Department of Transportation in the U.S., how do you see your role now compared to your predecessors who served at this capacity in past years?
That's a great question, Sam. And, first I need to acknowledge my predecessors, and I worked under Ryan Chamberlain mostly a few years ago. But, I think about Komei Jisei and Rick Land, and you go back a number of years, Tony Harris, who's still mentoring me today, right? So these have been chief deputies that have worked so hard in this organization to make a difference in people's lives. But, people don't necessarily know what a chief deputy director is, Sam. And so, if you use a more common name on the chief operating officer, right, or COO, right? So responsible for the operations of the organization. And so I think, one of the things in roles, and this is what's probably a lot different than my predecessors had to experience in this last year, Sam, if you look at the top 150 executives at Caltrans, and we're almost a 22,000 person organization, right? So you look at the top 150, which is the deputy directors, division chiefs, district directors, and deputy district directors, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Director Omushakin has appointed over half of them. Over half of them, and so over 75. So people ask me, so what have you been doing last year? And I say, well, I've done 75 sets of interviews is what I've done, a lot of it. So, really moving into that, just interviewing and hiring the next leaders of Caltrans and making sure that we have, and that they have what it takes to take us to the direction that we need to go. So, what's different, I think, than my predecessors, one, I've been doing that kind of hiring, and that's unprecedented. We've been talking about probably for a decade, the silver tsunami that was going to hit Caltrans. Well, the silver tsunami hit, but all fine. I just wish I had some silver up there instead of just a bowl like you and I, Sam. I wish I had that silver hair, but so the real shift that I've been making is moving into a coach and mentorship role with these folks and working with our administration team on leadership development, because we've got this huge change, and it's not just the 75 plus that we've hired this last year, but then you had to hire behind them too, right? So this is this domino effect that's been going on. So it's really, for me, trying to build my capacity to become a better coach and a better mentor and to read up, what does that mean? I'll share one example that I've learned in this last year, and I'm a workaholic, I'm a hard worker, that's I've got that, that's one of my strengths. But what I found, the strength to be a good coach is you got to be lazy. And that is so hard for me because it's not providing advice, it's asking questions. Now, sometimes you even have to be smarter to understand what questions do you need to ask for them to understand the direction that they need to go. But it's not giving them the answer. That's the absolute wrong thing to do, because that's not a good adult learning theory. So it's really asking them the right question to elicit responses from them so they can think through things to come up with their own answers, because that's where they learn the most. And so really, part of this role is to focus on very people-centric, right? And not roles, but focusing on people. So that's probably the biggest shift compared to my predecessors. And they were all good. In fact, all those people have contributed to my career, which I'm very appreciative of. And that's one of the things that I try to pay forward.
Great, excellent. So with that then, Jim, and with your role now as a coach and as a mentor, what do you see the biggest opportunity right now for Caltrans employees, and particularly the young professionals who want to join the organization and follow your footsteps? What do you see the biggest opportunity for them?
Well, first of all, is we've got, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50% of our team at Caltrans, not just our executives, but our whole team, can retire within the next 5 to 10 years. And so that creates just all kinds of opportunities to climb the ladder, if you so wish. But it creates opportunities for, if you want to be real technical, you could become a technical expert pretty quickly, right? That people are going to rely on you and count on you, as well as the leadership tracks. So having kind of 2 tracks. One is that technical folks, because you need bridge designers that know how to design a bridge, and you need the technical folks that they can figure out the underlying layers of the soil and rock strata to figure out what kind of foundation to put out there. And you need, accountants that can figure out the invoicing and pay folks out there, right? So there's all these, and that's the technical side of things. But then the leadership is knowing that we're looking for change agents to make a difference in people's lives. And so we need to hire folks that have those leadership skill sets to be able to make those changes, to implement the direction that we need to go. So those are the things that I really see from the opportunities for young professionals. I think incumbent on us, both on the technical and the leadership development, is to create training curriculum that works for them too. Because we millennials and Gen Zs, they're different than us, right? They think differently, and we need to figure out what's their learning modes. And not everybody learns the same way, Sam. You and I both know that. There's lots of different ways of learning. But we've got to figure out how to help them to accelerate their growth, because all these opportunities are going to be before them so quickly. And to help them to reach where they want to go, and to encourage them, and to create a work environment for them to be successful. Right? So, in figuring out, one thing is that the millennials and Gen Zs, they want a lot more balance. They don't want to be working 80 hours a week. They want to be, working, but then they want to be with their family, or riding their bikes, or playing sports, or playing chess, or whatever it is, right? Having that balance. And I think and that's hard. That's hard for me. I know it's hard for you, because we're workaholics, right? We just put everything into the job, and with passion and vigor and energy. But not everybody's like that. And I have 2 children. I have one that is typical millennial. He wants balance in his life, and he doesn't. Work is not his vocation. That's not where it's all about. And he wants to live life, and he goes, Dad, why do I have to work 40 hours a week? It's like, well, 40 hours a week, that's the good part, But it's not what he wants, right? There's so many other things he wants to do with his life. And so, which I respect, because they think differently. My daughter, on the other hand, is a workaholic. She's going to work and do whatever she needs to, and she's a little younger than her brother. So generalizations, you got to be careful with generalizations, right? Everybody's a little bit different. But I think we need to create an environment that these kids, these young professionals, can be successful in, which may be different than what you and I grew up with, Sam.
Very good. That being said then, Jim, what do you foresee to be the challenges for Caltrans in the next 5 years?
Yeah, and I'll call it, maybe existential threats. Maybe that's another way of doing it. But these are 3 big game changers, and I'll go into a little bit more detail, but safety, equity, and climate change, and I'll go into a little bit more about that. But one thing, Sam, that we've done over the last about 14 months is we just published and just sent it out, our new strategic plan at Caltrans. And these are three of the goals are in these particular areas, and I'll explain why here in a little more detail. But we know that these are three focus areas that we need to do a lot better in, because we're just dealing with these issues day in and day out. And so these become the challenges or the opportunities, right? Talk about safety first. Prior to this pandemic, we had about 3,600 people dying a year. 3,600 people dying a year on our transportation system or network. That's city streets, counties, county roads, and the state highway system. So in combination of all those things. And that equates to about 10 people a day. One of the things that I get is I get a notice of every fatality on the state highway system. And every morning I wake up and that's what I look at. And it's so disheartening and so discouraging to see that there's family members where their loved one is not coming home at night, right? And that's just horrible. And I know what it does to a family, because I had an uncle. He died when he was 13, so before he was my uncle, right? But he was on a bicycle and in conflict with a car and died, right? So it devastated my family. So safety is just so important to us, and recognizing that 3,600 a year or 10 a day, and out of those 10, 2 or 3 of those were bicycles or pedestrians, so most vulnerable users. Okay, so let's carry it back into pandemic, right? So that was pre-pandemic. Pandemic, people stopped going to work, working from home, not traveling, not going out, and we saw VMT, vehicle miles traveled, really come down significantly, right? And the expectation was that we would see fatalities come down, right? Proportional. You would kind of naturally think that. But I don't know about you, Sam, but when I'm driving on the freeway, there's a lot of crazy folks driving out there. In fact, we put out a statistic with CHP that we saw an 87% increase in people driving over 100 miles an hour on the state highway system. Wow. It's incredible, right? So people driving crazier because there was less traffic out there. They're doing the zigzag in and out and around, and it's I used to kind of get mad at them, and now it's just like, oh my gosh, I slow down, I back off, and says, hey, I don't want to be any part of this, right? And that's not good. So as traffic came down, we would expect fatalities to come down. But Sam, what happened? We just got the numbers. Fatalities went up. So vehicle miles traveled went down, and fatalities went up. So it's over 3,700. So it grew, which is not intuitive and just makes no sense. And so we know, as a Department of Transportation, we have got to do better. And we're focused on people. And kind of back to the predecessors, safety has been our #1 priority for a long time. But what we've been doing, Sam, is not working. And in fact, it's getting worse. So we've got to pivot. We've got to do things differently. And so that's probably, one of those 3 challenges being safety, that we've got to do things differently. And not only that, you start looking at, when you put the equity lens, and maybe it's a nice transition, you look at underserved communities, and they get hit harder on these fatalities than others. And so that kind of starts moving into the equity. So let me just talk a little bit about equity. And of course, the pandemic just highlighted so much in the equity front, and recognizing that people of color and disadvantaged communities get hit harder from a transportation system than others. And partly they're near, so you look at the air, the water, and the soil, right? They're much more contaminated when you're closer to a highway system than not, or streets and roads. And so that's an area that we've got to do better on. And one of the things that we're focused in is recognizing in our strategic plan, and we've got 4 Ps, and Tokes is great about this. He always comes up with little sayings, but it helps to remember things, and it's so important. But it's people, programs/projects, partnerships, and planet. Okay, and let me talk just a little bit about that. You know, from the equity point of view, and recognizing the transportation system has an impact on people's lives. You know, so one is to understand the people that we serve, and so when we talk from a people perspective, we want to make sure we have a representative workforce of the people that we serve, because then you can have the empathy, right, to understand the challenges that they face. And we can have folks that can communicate and partner, you know, with those folks as well to make a difference in their lives. We also are looking at programs/projects and looking at our policies, you know, and what do we need to change in our policies? Are there things in our policies that are doing a disservice to folks or different groups of folks? And how do we do better? The other thing is Sam, we're a $15 billion organization, $15 billion. How can we use that money to improve people's lot in life? Right? So how can we still have to pave roads and repair bridges and build sidewalks and bike paths, but where do we do it first? Is there some communities that we can make a difference in their lives and get them so that they can get to where they need to go? Right? So those are things on the programs and projects, and then partnerships. You know, this is so important with the construction industry that you and I have been involved with for so long. It is looking at small business, because, you know, if you want to create jobs, you know, the place you create jobs is small business or disadvantaged business or you know, different spaces like that. And so what we're trying to figure out is how to give a hand up to folks. How do we help small business get started? How to get going to develop these jobs so that people can do the things they want to do in life, take care of their family, raise their family, send their kids off to college, right? That's expensive. And they need good, well-paying jobs to do that. Well, that's all part of that $15 billion. How do we help people get a leg up in society? One of the things the governor talks about is a California for all, right? And that's with that equity theme on there. So that's the partnership. And then the final piece of the equity is the planet, right? Because climate change is here. You know, last year, Sam, you know, 4 million acres of California property burned. 4% of California burned last year. You know, it was the worst wildfire season on history, right? And it impacts Caltrans as well as burning up our facilities. And we're trying to partner with Cal Fire and U.S. Forest Service to figure out how do we make a difference in this space, because fires just devastate not only the environment but whole communities. You know, you know, I'll never forget here a couple of years ago when Paradise burned to the ground, and one of my former mentors was Jody Jones, and she was the district director in 3, and I worked for Jody, and she was a big advocate for leadership and leadership development and growing folks. And you know, she was the mayor of Paradise when it burned, and had to deal with that, and still trying to deal with that. You know, because that doesn't. People just don't come back either when a community burns like that. It scars them, you know, mentally and emotionally. So anyway, people, programs and projects, partnerships and planets. So the equity. So that's a major focus area on us to know that we can make a difference in people's lives. And then the third one, Sam, is and there's a great transition from the planet into the climate action. You know, and how do we do things to help the environment? And I see this as a proactive and a reactive component of it. The proactive is how do we reduce our GHG footprint, right? That's the key. The reactive is it's here. Fires are here, sea level rise is here. So what are those things that we can do differently to help in this space? And so, you know, whether we're looking at our fleet and how to reduce our get to zero emission vehicles, or, you know, how we put ZEV stations in so people can charge up and use zero emission vehicles or electric vehicles. You know, how do we look at our materials? Cement, gosh, it's one of the biggest generators of GHG, and we use a lot of cement at Caltrans. And we've done some great things in the past. We've used slag and fly ash in our cement, and it's made a difference and reduced the amount of greenhouse gas, but it's not near enough. I was listening to, there was a 60 Minutes article not too long ago that Bill Gates, they did it on Bill Gates, and he's a huge advocate for trying to make a difference in the climate change space. And he talked about concrete, cement, how that's one of the things that we've got to figure out how to do better. And so I think that's something that we got to look as the material side of things. And then on the resiliency side, one of the things that we've done is we went and have assessed the whole state and looked at our vulnerabilities. So we have vulnerability assessments all over the place. And now we've got to figure out, okay, well, how are we going to adapt to this? How are we going to make a more resilient system to account for sea level rise and fires and drought? And, it's not just the drought. You get more higher rain intensities too. So then upsizing culverts, those types of things. In fact, we just had a groundbreaking that the governor attended on Friday on Rat Creek on the coast, right? So we had this horrible fire there. And then over one weekend in January, we had 15 to 18 inches of rain. 15 to 18 inches of rain over a couple of day period. And it washed all those logs and everything that burned down and closed up our culvert, and then washed out a huge 150 foot section that was, 300-400 feet deep down all the way to the ocean. And we just had rebuilt that in the last few months. But those are the things, and when we rebuilt it with, one is instead of, I think we had a 6-foot culvert, we went to 10-foot culvert, but then we added 3 additional culverts. So we had ultimate redundancy. And we also went up and cleaned up and made sure upstream that we didn't have a lot of that debris flow going in. So that's the climate thing. We've got to just show a lot of leadership in this space, Sam, and then help with the cities and the counties. So these are some of the 3 things, the safety, the equity, and the climate change that we're really focused on.
Excellent. Thank you. And then with all what you shared with me relative to Caltrans opportunities as well as the challenges that we have lying ahead and the type of leadership role that Caltrans needs to take in leading, actually, not just the state, possibly even the nation and worldwide in those arenas. How do you then select? What do you look for in your next leadership team, whether district director, deputy director, or even any Caltrans ambassador? What do you look for? What kind of attributes are you looking?
It's a great question, Sam, and I've been a lot of thought in this last year with all the hiring that we've done, right? So, over 70, I think as of last night, 77 sets of interviews. So I had one last night even. And one of the things is I read a book this last year, and it was called Leadership by John C. Maxwell. And John C. Maxwell is an author, a speaker. He's a savant in leadership, right? He's just a guru, whatever you want to call him, just has been in this space for 40 years, right? And it's got a lot to give and teach us. And it's something that Director Omashaka, he's the one that introduced me to John C. Maxwell. It's one of his favorite authors. And in there, I'm going to pull out a quote. I got a thing that I want to share with you, Sam, because we're looking for bold, transformative leaders, right? Because the great pivot of looking at the safety and the equity and the climate change, it's going to require a different type of leader to deal with those things. And you're like, Jim, gosh, that doesn't sound like a transportation department. Well, we're so focused on people now, right? It's people-centric. It's all about people. And so I call it the great Caltrans pivot, right, into these focus areas. But let me share with you, a quote from Leadership in John C. Maxwell. And it's on bold, transformational leaders. So bold, transformational leaders. And here's what he says. He goes, if your actions inspire people to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you're a transformational leader. So, and he talks about seeing, speaking, believing, feeling, and doing. And I'll do just a little bit more on this. So transformational leaders see things differently and ask, Why not? Because they're always trying to create a brighter future. And Sam, I've underlined create a brighter future, and you know why? Because our vision statement says that we want to create a brighter future, for all, and when I saw that, I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about it, how it dovetails so much, and what we're trying to do is create that brighter future for all and give people a leg up or stand up and to make lives better for them and their families. That's what it's all about. The second thing is speak, and speak up and say things others do not say, to be a tool for transformation. And that's what we're talking about, especially the equity fund. This is a huge transformational thing that we're trying to do. We have $15 billion. How do we use them differently to help people? Transformational leaders believe they can make a difference and believe in others. So it's focused on the people. They feel things others do not feel and try to build a different world. And that's what we're trying to do, is build that different world for all to be successful. And then they feel things others do not feel, and they try to build a different world. Oh, I'm sorry, I said that already again. But the last one was, they do things others do not do to make a difference, right? So they see things that need to be done, and they make a difference. And Sam, one of the things when we put together our strategic plan, kind of in parallel with that, we were looking at what are the leadership competencies that we needed to implement our strategic plan. And we came up with 9 leadership competencies. And I'll just quickly go through these with you. But one of the things that people ask me, what do you look for in leaders? Well, the first one I would talk about is the results. They get things done, right? That number one, they get things done. They find a way, and however they do that. So that's one of our leadership competencies. The second one is a strategic perspective, and that's an area that's probably been a weaker area globally in Caltrans, and we need more strategic thinking. Thinking outside your cylinder of excellence, right? Thinking cross-functionally, and thinking about others. And for us, it's planning, it's project delivery, it's operations, it's maintenance, right? It's local assistance. How do we work with our cities and counties? How do we help improve their lots in life? So thinking that strategically. Then the third one is communication. We need folks that can communicate, and what goes hand in hand with that is the fourth one is partnerships, right? Communicating, building partnerships, to make the changes in people's lives. Then moving on to the next one is looking at it from a change commitment, right? Because if we're going to be bold and transformative, you got to change things, Sam. And so we need people that have the intestinal fortitude to make those changes, because change is hard. In fact, the next leadership competency that we've identified is conflict management. So if you're going to change things, you're going to experience conflict. So you better get comfortable with conflict. Conflict is an opportunity, right? It's an opportunity to, using that partnership skill, communication skills, to understand their point of view, and how do you get better at that? Then moving on from that, then we're moving into risk appetite, right? So we need people to take greater risk. One of the things that John Maxwell, he wrote a book on failing forward, and I'm always quoting that all over. In fact, everybody knows at Caltrans. What's Jim's biggest saying? Failing forward, right? And what failing forward means is you get in the arena, you try, you fail, you learn, you grow, and you get back in there and do it again, right? And that's taking that risk and being comfortable with that. It used to be where if you took a risk and it failed, you got popped over the head and said, "Yeah, don't do that again." Now we need to reward that type of thinking. You and I, as Sam, have talked about that. We need to encourage that risk taking to make a difference in people's lives. So that's really important in this, and then I guess getting down, I think if I've counted this right, the last one or the ninth one is looking at self-development and growth, right? And that's something that every day I'm trying to figure out how to make myself better, And for me, as I've changed the roles in coaching, how do I make my team better? You know, what question can I ask them to help them think about something? You know, one of the questions I ask every morning to myself is, you know, where can I add value today? Or where am I going to be given an opportunity to add value? And that's not so much giving an answer to somebody, but it's asking the right question to help them. So there's so much in this space and what we need to do for our future leaders. And I'll just leave you with one final quote from Dr. John C. Maxwell. And he goes, everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And Sam, I think that is so true to make the difference in the people that we serve each and every day.
This is really very intriguing, definitely, Jim. And when we're talking about bold, transformative leadership, so with that, what's going to be your legacy, Jim? I mean, clearly, you're taking a coach role and definitely a mentor role, and you're breeding new leaders in the department. 50 years, 100 years from now, people look back and say, it was Jim Davis who actually did that. What would that be, Jim?
Oh, Sam, it's one of those things where, it's not about me, and I think that's really important. But if I add any value, right, and that's what I've been trying to do is to coach and develop people so they come up with their own solutions. And they're not doing it, well, how would Jim Davis do it? Now, forget any of that. The question is, did I help them to develop their skills, and are they committed to their own personal growth, their own personal growth journey to do better, to be better, right? That Tokes is always talking about is to do better and be better. And if they have any influence on people, it's to do that growth, and that they seek solutions and look at innovative ideas and not rely on the ways we've done it in the past, because the world is changing and it keeps evolving, and that change is accelerating. So the question is, how do I leave a group of leaders that have no problem changing and doing things differently and are comfortable with that risk? And doing those things and comfortable with failing forward, Sam. That's really important, to learn and to grow and to do better.
Great. Jim, thank you again for making time today to be with me on this Ambassador Series and for being the Caltrans ambassador that you are. Wish you all the best, Jim, in your pursuit for grooming and developing the next leadership at Caltrans. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Appreciate it.